right. Welcome to this week's episode of Old Gold. This week, Jeremy and I were talking, and we decided that maybe once a month or so, we're going to do an episode where we kind of just go over markets and what's going on, but we're also going to maybe update some of the projects that are going on with us and just generally kind of chew the fat about the industry and maybe some different stocks and what's happening. So that is what this episode is going to be. And of course, Jeremy's a very busy man, so I always appreciate him cutting out some time to be with me on the episode. So thanks, Jeremy. And where do you want to start?
Hey, old gold. I'd like to start with tungsten. Actually, that's sort of the hottest commodity in the world, so it deserves a little bit of maybe 5 minutes of discussion. But yeah, let's start with tungsten. It's I think we're about to see another leg up, and as you know, the price has run from $32,000 18 months ago a ton to now 320,000. And all the work that our team are doing suggests we're heading to $500,000 a ton. So if you're in the tungsten space, and obviously we have pure tungsten, and we're waiting by the phone to get the updates from Tiger on Sanjong commissioning. Tiger hosted a very big conference in Seoul this week with the Tajikistan government, with the South Korean government on the tungsten alliance between the two countries. So, but also, I think that tungsten space is very interesting, like EQ Resources, obviously Almonte's a hot name, Guardian, Pure Tungsten, Tungsten West. So I think that whole tungsten space is about to have a huge second leg.
Yep, I would agree with you. We're now, tungsten is really kind of making a bit of mainstream news because now you've got, the Trump boys and some others that are investing in some things going on there in I believe it was Kazakhstan. Is that right?
Yeah,
that project that they've invested in pretty heavily, and of course the critical minerals deal that's going on in the States, where they're putting aside a lot of funding for critical minerals. As everybody who watches this channel already knows, right? China controls around 80 to 85% of the tungsten. And if you've watched any previous episodes on pure tungsten, of course, we've talked about that. So they've choked off a lot of supply. Japan apparently is in real trouble right now because they don't have enough tungsten to even produce what they normally produce. So it's getting to be a real issue. Now, that project in Kazakhstan, of course, if you know anything about the industry, is if they're investing in that project now, what do you reckon, when are they going to start producing? That's years down the road, isn't it? 2-3 years down the road. And we've got, pure tungsten is really just around the corner from producing. So we're definitely at a pretty big advantage there. Plus, we've got this Tajikistan project that we folded into, as well as the Sanjong mine. So it's really quite a big project. And, when we were in Tajikistan last year, we were looking at all the different sort of maps. Of course, it was all in Russian because it was the old Soviets, right? They're the ones who found that deposit. And it's pretty high grade from what I understand.
Yeah, very high grade, 1% sort of tungsten drilled out. It's one of those classic Russian examples where after the mine closed in about 1970, they drilled it out for the next 4 years. And now Tiger and the team have appointed SRK to basically do they'll need to do some twin holing just to double check. But that could be a massive new resource and a world-class mine that's coming on. Tiger's got big plans, and obviously having the government from Tajikistan over in Korea this week just shows the commitment Pure Tungsten's making. Now that round's closed now. That we closed that with tremendous interest a month or so back. We might be launching another tungsten company soon, also in Portugal. So watch this space. That's Iberian tungsten. So we'll tell you more about that. But I just think that whole space is ready to have another massive move. Even smart guys like Andrew Forrest in Australia, Australia's richest man from Fortescue Iron Ore, billionaire, bought 15% stake of EQ Resources like 2 weeks ago from Oaktree. And that shows you the smart money's waking up to this whole trade. And also, as you come back from holidays in Europe, there's virtually no inventory anywhere in the factories. And this is why I think we're going to see a spike to $500,000 a ton. To put that in perspective, everyone gets excited about copper and, I think it's breaking out. I think copper today is like $16,000 a ton. We're at $320,000, going to $500,000 a ton. So just very excited about the tungsten trade, Eric, and that might lead us on to our next big call for this year. Is we think we're going to see gold at $7,000 an ounce by this coming Christmas. I think that's like 130 days away. So big call, isn't it? Big call from our side, but the market is primed for a massive move.
Well, it's the call. It's the call that you've kind of stuck with all year. So we had basically a retest of support, and you stuck to your guns there. So, like you said, we've got 130 some days until Christmas. So I guess we will see. But in the long term, there's only one way for gold to go. That's undeniable. So the smart money, while we're kind of basing and retesting support at this point, and maybe consolidating for a bit. We did have a pretty good pop last week, so that might be pretty promising on what's to come. But the smart money's basically grabbing it with both hands while it's really cheap. It's below 5,000 an ounce, and we've already hit 5,500 as the peak ish, 5,500 ish. So the smart money knows like now is the time to get in and grab it with both hands, and it's only a matter of time before I think a lot of the retail crowd kind of jump on board with that.
Talking of grabbing with both hands, Chancery Royalty, it's a royalty company focused, but we also have a gold fund. And some of the names we've been picking up in this sell-off the last, before the little spike, names like Soma Gold in Colombia. I'm having lunch with Jeff Hampson actually today. So the stock went from 240 to 70 cents. So we've been picking that up down at that level. Endeavour Mining, I think, is a very cheap name in London. Kefi Gold and Copper. Harry, stock's gone from 2p to 1p. We've been buying stock down around 1p, and I think that's going to have a huge move. The other one that changing from gold to silver. When we were in Finland last week, Eric, we met with Sotkamo Silver, million to 1.2 million ounce silver producer. Basically unknown, and we worked out. Mario Maneko, 64, and I worked out in the back of the taxi that it trades on an EV to EBITDA of 1 next year. So, assuming prices go up, obviously. So, Sotkamo Silver, we've been buying that, but also in our own stable. I think the name that really I'm blown away with hasn't moved yet is our Amapá Minerals IPO. It came out in the market July the 23rd at $1.10. It's trading at $1.10. The market cap's only 370 million Canadian. And what's interesting about this is the Araucano mine in northern Brazil. It was 3 years of our life, and the management team, Ivan, Renato, Renan, Daniel, do an incredible job ramping it up to 100,000 ounces phase one, and then 150. It's producing now, but my goodness, I did the numbers on Amapá Minerals. I think it's on a PE of 1 next year also, and totally forgotten about it. It's the old Great Panther. Used to be also known as Beadle Resources in Australia, and super high grade potential, massive resource. I think it's 10 million ounces, 10,000 ton a day mill, and totally forgotten about since it IPO'd. I guess people have forgotten about this company. It hasn't been trading. Great Panther stopped trading in September of 22. So that's nearly 4 years since it's been offline. So have a look at Amapá Minerals on the listed side. That's definitely, I think, a very cheap buy here.
Yeah, it sounds like it. And I think, obviously the miners always kind of follow the gold price. And I think once we start to really run, obviously we have to crack the previous high. And Jeremy, you and I talked privately a couple of days ago, and I said when gold cracks the previous high, even though we're in separate places on the globe, we're both going to crack some, or the whole team will crack some champagne in our separate locations wherever we are, because we'll be off and running when that happens.
Yeah, we will be, and that's why it's Chancery Royalty. We're very focused on bedding down as many deals now before the market runs, because we all know when we go 7,000. They won't be picking up your calls. And Chancery Royalty, just remind everyone, Chancery Royalty, we've built this in the last 6 months, haven't we? We've had tremendous support from our wonderful investors. We have the 8% royalty on Pilar Gold, and incidentally, we had a fantastic investor trip down there this week with a very large potential investor. and they're well on track to start producing at the end of September. So very excited about Pilar. And we had a wonderful trip, didn't we, down there for
Oh,
last month?
fantastic.
Wasn't
Brazil
it
is
great?
so beautiful. Yeah.
Really amazing. So we've got that royalty, which is 8%. We've got the Kefi royalty, 4.8%. That won't start producing for about 18 months. We have the silver byproduct from Gold Road, and we're going to announce the Q2 production royalty from Gold Road. And Gold Road, as you know, is listed in Norway now. I think that's also a very cheap stock, like the market cap for Gold Road. The ticker's Gold R on Oslo, 50 million market cap for a primetime Arizonan gold producer. Crazy, with five dormant mines, can grow to 40,000 ounces under Svein Harold and Neil's leadership. And we've had Big Jim, on Old Gold. So that's doing really well. But Chancery royalties in the funding rounds is still open at $3. It's a price to NAV of only 0.3. And Jamila and Jen from our Scottsdale team are actually going to John Fennick's conference with there's another famous guy, just Don Durrett. Don Durrett. Do you know Don? Yeah. So our Jamila and Jen from the team are going to go to John Fennick and Don Durett's conference on September the 18th in Arizona, if anyone's going to be there. So very excited about that conference, and getting to really build out our presence in the US market and knowing more and more investors. Yeah, really pretty interesting time, Eric. Like, this is that little calm before the storm, I think, before we get a massive move up.
Absolutely. Like I said, there's only one way it's going. How far it's going, nobody knows, because it just depends on how much the sovereign debt crisis unravels and how much war comes into play. Um, and that's anybody's guess. I certainly couldn't put a pin on that, but it's all coming to a head, and the result of that, of course, not just for gold but for tungsten as well, is that prices have only one way to go. So yeah, long term, it's looking very good for the metals.
Talking of looking good, Livera Gold, Finland, what a great trip Mario Maneko 64 and I had. We also, Svein Harold from Gold Road joined us. He flew in from Norway. We had one of our summer interns join us. And incidentally, if you have a son or daughter who's looking for an internship, please reach out to Old Gold. We're very keen to bring young talent, give them some experience working on different things. They come and travel with us. We know kids these days, at university, it's tough to find internships. Tough, the world of AI, and the world's changed. It's not like when you and I were out of school, right? So anyone wants to join our team for a month on the corporate side, do a bit of travel. Young Joseph has been to Korea, and he's been to Brazil. One of our
Joseph's
interns.
great. Yeah, he was great.
He's great, man. And Maximilian joined us in Finland. We might be doing a trip to Portugal next week. So we've had 5 summer interns this year, but please reach out to us. We're very keen to bring young talent into the mining and royalty industry, and don't just go off and want to be a computer programmer and work for Apple, because I think that trade's done. Come back to mining commodities. We're in a massive bull market, and this is where you're going to make money as a young kid.
Yeah, we're a couple years into, probably, a few years into about a 7-year bull market. So there's a long way to go. That first leg up in gold was pretty explosive, and the next leg up could be even more so. So it'll be very exciting to see how it all unfolds over the next few years.
Yeah, definitely. Well, if we are right in 7,000 by Christmas, it could be quite a wild couple of months ahead. So yeah, the trip last week was fantastic with the Maneko 64, and it just reminded me just how huge this mine is and could be. It's going to go to 50,000 ounces near term, but potential to double to 100,000. And the valuation's only 170 million Canadian. Rupert Resources up the road, which is just a project, right? There's nothing there. They got bought for 2.5 billion by Agnico Eagle only 2 months ago, and our valuation's only 170 with a full warrant. So
That's
very
crazy.
Yeah, really cheap. Like, I think Livera's going to list in September. The ticker's Sisu, and Sisu is in Finnish, it's resilience, strength, toughness, which is a very Finnish thing. The Finns are really tough. I love the Finns. They think like Germans and drink like Russians, and I just love. I love they're very different to the Norwegians and the Swedes, who are a little bit more flashy. The Finns are much more low key, and you know, but I love the Finns, and I think Live Gold's going to be a tremendous success.
Yeah, the Finns are a different breed. One of my favorite race drivers, obviously I'm a racing fan, but one of my favorite race drivers is Kimi Räikkönen. He's he's just awesome, especially in media interviews. The Finns are a different breed. But you were talking about the valuation, and when you consider that they've got one of the biggest mills, arguably maybe the biggest mill in Europe, on top of the actual resource, the valuation seems pretty crazy when you consider what some other things are going for, like you mentioned.
Yeah, look, that's the way we roll, obviously, Eric. Every one of our private rounds we do at cents in the dollar, and this is no exception. I mean, you look at all the rounds we've done in all the companies. We buy these mines cheaply. I don't think we'll ever get a chance to buy a Livera mine ever again. I mean, we bought Livera Gold, the Livera business, for 31 million Canadian back in the depths of the bear market of October of 22. And I distinctly remember buying Livera on that day, and it was that day when gold did that triple bottomed at 1620. And I was thought, and even one of our board members was so upset with me for buying Livera, he resigned on the spot. And I remember the next day, I then turned on Sprott Money. Craig Hemke and Christopher Mullen were on,
I like
and
Chris.
I'll never forget this. And Craig was super bearish. He was going, I don't know, Chris. This chart's gonna go to 1200. It looks so sick, don't you reckon? Like I was going shit. And Chris was like, yeah, definitely going to 1250. And I thought, oh crap, what have I done? And this was right in the middle of the Ukrainian electricity, sort of European crisis of electricity.
Yeah.
But of course, that's always the best deals are always the ones you buy and make you want to run to the toilet and be sick. And if you don't have that feeling, they probably won't be that great. But Livera Gold, if you think about it, 4 years on, it's still not producing. And that's just because the sentiment's not been there. We haven't been able to find the money. Again, the best projects are often the ones you can't finance. And I'll tell you the best story for that was K92 in January of 2016. Ian Stalker came to see me at a pub. It was called Coco Momo's in London. And he said, I want you to fund K92. And of course, I'd never heard of K92. It's subsequently become the greatest mining success story in the last 10 years. We gave them 11 million US dollars, K92, and bought the stock at 15 cents. And again, it's now $27 or something like this, right? It's the greatest success in the industry. And weirdly enough, 6 months later, I got sacked for doing the deal. And I'll never forget my boss saying, this is an unmitigated disaster. And you and Tom, you're out. So again, same kind of theory, right? If it feels bad, if no one wants to do it, it's probably going to be an amazing deal. And that's why I think Livera Gold is going to be an incredible success.
Yeah, well, it's certainly on track to be so, especially because at this point, we're basing with the price of gold. And once that starts to rocket again, and we start to reach, nosebleed levels, all these projects that we're into, all these gold projects that we're into, I can't even begin to imagine the stratospheric levels that these stock prices are going to go, and where the valuations are going to go, once they actually reach their actual value.
Yeah, no, really exciting. It's going to be a great couple of months ahead. And Old Gold, I think you're doing a great job. I know you're starting to pick up your subscribers. Anyone who's watching, please subscribe to Old Gold. He's really, I think, bringing on some really interesting guests. And next week, we're going to bring on a phenomenally interesting guest from Papua New Guinea, aren't we? This is our big new deal we've just done for Chancery in Papua New Guinea called Eagle Exploration. And we're pretty excited to bring Alan on, aren't we?
Yeah, I've had a lot of private conversations with Alan, and he's a really great guy. So it'll be really exciting to have him on. And it's funny that you just mentioned K92 because Eagle's project is just down the road from where K92 is. So Really a lot of potential. And when I talk to Alan, and obviously you've had a lot of conversations with him as well, you can actually hear the excitement in his voice when he's talking about sort of what's going on and what they've uncovered so far and what the potential really is. It's pretty exciting stuff.
Yeah, Chancery bought a big stake of Eagle privately. We have a royalty option over the project, and it's been a long time since there's been a 10 or a 20 million ounce discovery. I mean, look at Omai in Guyana. The stock's been one of the best performers in recent years. They've drilled out 7 million ounces on an old existing mine, and pretty good holes, right? But actually, I look at Omai and think, you know what, Amapá Minerals, we've actually got just the same kind of ground, same kind of resource, but we have a mill. Again, same difference in comparison, but I think Eagle X could be something special, and we'll bring Alan on next week.
Yeah.
Yeah, so really excited about that as well.
Me too. And Alan, he's a great conversationalist. He loves to talk, and he's got a lot of information packed up in that head of his. Sometimes, I've had conversations with him that go on for an hour, and I didn't really say much, but everything that he's got to say is quite exciting because he's talking about the project, and so it'll be really good to have him on next week.
Yeah, definitely. Well, on that note, Eric, let's wrap it up. Obviously, we've got the rounds open still for Pilar, for Chancery, and for Livera, and we'll leave those links down there. Just reach out to Eric, Ed, Max, Jamila, Jen, myself. I mean, we are just so we really appreciate all the amazing support. We've got over 2,600 investors now around the world in our company. Some investors invest in everything we do. Many are new to us, so please, take your time, talk to us as much as you like. And we do really appreciate the support. You've made all this possible. And I love the fact that we can build such an exciting, fast-growing group without relying on these big, sort of arrogant private equity funds or big institutional funds that muck you around. I love the fact that we have people power and we're doing this, just amazing supporters, haven't we?
Yeah, a lot of our investors. I've had the privilege to meet a lot of our investors on these different trips that we do, the investor trips, of course. I led the one in Korea, and then we were just in Brazil for Pilar, and they're always just amazing people. They're a very diverse group of people from all over the world, and it's always a lot of fun to meet them and hang out with them and get to know them. And like Jeremy said, we really 100% appreciate everybody that has come in and chatted with us through email or on calls or, however you like to do it. And then, gone ahead and invested in these projects because without you, of course, none of this would be possible. But it's been really cool to get to know some of them.
100%. And yeah, I'd love to just reach out to us. I just love this side of the job is for me, and I know it's for you the same, Eric, is to get to know amazing investors. In fact, a gentleman by the name of Sam rang me, who was introduced to me by Dave in Sheffield. And it turns out Sam runs the biggest nightclub sort of student business in the UK. I thought, wow, that's interesting. He has like 70 different clubs that he promotes.
That's cool.
That's you do get to meet some interesting people, don't you? It's really interesting. I'd never even thought that job existed until yesterday.
Yeah, absolutely. A lot of our investors are, many of our investors are mom and pop, type of investors. And some of our investors are, big heavy hitters that are in charge of different companies or are self-made in some way or another. And it's always interesting to just meet the whole range of people. So it's something that I do enjoy. And on these trips, we always have a good time, kicking around the mines and then going to dinner and just enjoying ourselves. So it's really a pleasure to meet them.
Just on a final note, we will be arranging another trip to Brazil for Pilar for its first gold pour. And so watch out for that. I recommend anyone join us to Brazil, one of the great countries, isn't it? And Pilar is such an incredible place right now. Like after 5 years of tough times, very emotional for me to go back there actually and see such an amazing difference, wasn't it? And yeah, so Pilar, watch out. We're going to do another trip pretty soon. So please join us on that. And so thanks everyone again for this week. And well done, Eric. Another great show, mate. So thank you for your hard work.
Thanks, Jeremy. All right, guys. Well, we don't want to keep you too long. So this is Old Gold signing out. Make sure you sign in next week for our interview with Alan, because that's going to be a pretty good one. So until then, I hope you guys have a great week, and we'll see you then.